The day Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, dragging America into World War II. But what if? What if that day never happened? What if the calendar page had simply turned to December 8th? What if the course of history had taken a different turn? To understand this counterfactual, we must first understand the factual. Why did Japan attack Pearl Harbor? The answer, like most things in history, is complex, a tapestry woven from strands of desperation, ambition, and miscalculation. By 1941, Japan found itself trapped in a quagmire of its own making, bogged down in a seemingly unwinnable war in China, starved of resources by an American embargo. The Japanese military saw striking the US Pacific Fleet as the only way to break the deadlock, to buy time, to secure their empire in the East. It was a gamble, a roll of the dice with the fate of nations hanging in the balance. And as we know, it was a gamble that backfired spectacularly. But what if instead of that fateful Tora, a different message had crackled over the airwaves? What if calmer heads had prevailed, urging a different course of action? The decision to attack Pearl Harbor was not taken lightly. It was the culmination of months, years even, of escalating tensions, of diplomatic dead ends, of a growing sense of inevitability. But within the halls of power in Tokyo, other voices whispered alternative strategies, voices drowned out by the drums of war. Imagine for a moment a Japan that chose a different path. Perhaps instead of a surprise attack, they focus on consolidating their gains in China, seeking a negotiated peace, however uneasy, with Chiang Kai-shek. Or perhaps they turn their expansionist ambitions southward, engaging in a protracted struggle for Southeast Asia's resources, a Pacific Great Game played against the European colonial powers already weakened by war. Each of these scenarios presents its own set of challenges and opportunities. Without the galvanizing effect of Pearl Harbor, would the American public have tolerated a war in the Pacific? Would Roosevelt have been able to overcome the isolationist sentiment that gripped the nation? The answers to these questions lie shrouded in the mists of speculation. The Japanese military, imbued with the Bushido spirit, saw the attack on Pearl Harbor as a bold stroke, a chance to cripple the American fleet and seize the initiative. But what if, instead of a single decisive blow, they had opted for a war of attrition, a slow and agonizing grind? Would the outcome have been any different? Section 4. Awaken the sleeping giant, or not. The attack on Pearl Harbor did more than just sink battleships and kill American sailors. It awoke a sleeping giant. The shock and outrage united the American people like nothing else could, transforming a reluctant participant into a vengeful titan. But absent that singular catalyzing event, would America have remained on the sidelines? It's impossible to say for sure. Roosevelt, despite facing considerable opposition, was maneuvering to provide greater support to the Allies. Perhaps the Lend-Lease Act expands, becoming a lifeline for a beleaguered Britain. Perhaps as the Nazi threat grows, as Hitler's ambitions become undeniable, America finds itself drawn into the European conflict, the Pacific theater remaining a sideshow. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a turning point in American history. It shattered the illusion of isolationism and thrust the nation onto the world stage as a superpower. But in a world where December 7th, 1941 passed as an ordinary day, would America have remained content to watch the storm rage from afar? Section 5. Shifting sands of war, battles unfought, alliances unforged. The ripples from a non-existent Pearl Harbor extend beyond the shores of America. Without the need to avenge a surprise attack, might the Pacific War have unfolded differently? Would the bloody battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa have been fought? Would the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki have become a horrifying reality? The absence of Pearl Harbor could have reshuffled the deck of alliances. Would a less antagonistic Japan have remained neutral in the European conflict, or perhaps even joined the Axis powers? Would a less militarily engaged America have been able to provide the same level of support to the Allies in Europe? The Pacific War, with its island-hopping campaigns and brutal battles, was a defining chapter of World War II. But in a world where Pearl Harbor never happened, the Pacific Ocean might have remained a relatively calm backwater, its fate decided by events unfolding thousands of miles away. Section 6, the home front, echoes of peace in a world at war. The impact of Pearl Harbor extended far beyond the battlefield. The war effort transformed American society, mobilizing industry, spurring technological innovation, and challenging social norms. Without the unifying call to arms, would these changes have occurred? Would America have experienced the same post-war economic boom? Would the civil rights movement have gained the same momentum? The questions are endless, the possibilities tantalizing. A world without Pearl Harbor is a world where the tapestry of history is woven with different threads, a world both familiar and profoundly alien. The war, for all its horrors, acted as a crucible for American society, forging a new sense of national unity and purpose. But in the absence of that shared experience, would America have emerged from the shadow of the Great Depression as the superpower it became? Section 7, the world we know, or never knew. As we stand at the crossroads of this alternate history, one thing becomes abundantly clear. The world, as we know it, would be a vastly different place. The political landscape, the balance of power, even the very fabric of our culture, would have been shaped by the ghosts of battles unfought and alliances unforged. Would a less dominant America have led to a more multipolar world? Would the Cold War have played out differently? Would the spectre of nuclear annihilation have loomed as large? These are questions without easy answers, questions that invite us to contemplate the fragility of our reality, the delicate dance of cause and effect that has brought us to this point in time. The world we know today is a product of countless events, both great and small. But the attack on Pearl Harbor stands as a stark reminder that even a single moment in time can alter the course of history, leaving us to grapple with the infinite possibilities of what might have been.